Hey everyone, welcome to your Thursday edition of News, Games, and More. I'm your humble host, Michael Swaim, and joining me, as has been the custom every Thursday lately, we got Benjamin Watts, we got Ryan McCaffrey, and we've got Mr. Jeffrey Vega. Happy Thursday, guys. I hope it
Very
finds
happy
you well.
Thursday.
Hello.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm glad we all scrambled and found some kind of color scheme to go with. It's better than nothing. Jeffrey, your background rules, so you get a bye. Um, but
His
first things first,
Ben's got his background looks like every video game box ever. The orange
you,
and the blue.
it's true. You've
Yeah,
got
really
the
trying.
Michael Bay movie poster
Yes.
classic palette. I don't know what I have, kind of a cyberpunk thing, but I don't want to talk about that. It'll make me sad. What I want to talk about, of course, is PS5 launch day. Happy PS5 launch
Yay!
day. Yeah.
Me
And
too, too.
I found out just before we started streaming that I'm the only person on the show today who doesn't have one in hand. So I have to ask as I salivate, um, what are your guys' experiences so far? Has anyone turned their PS5 on? Ryan, you said yours might come during this taping.
Yeah,
Let's hope.
you're not the only one. I'm
Okay.
temporarily there with you. I've cleared out space on top of my entertainment center there because I measured it's way too big to fit inside this IKEA disaster monstrosity thing that I have here. So yeah, I've got the space cleared. It's ready. Just waiting on the FedEx guy
So are you going
or girl.
horizontal then? I feel like vertical
No,
on top would
stand
be
up.
so
Yeah.
precarious.
No, it's gonna stand up, and then if there's ever an earthquake, which never happens in San Francisco, it'll be fine.
You'll just instinctively dive for the PS5. No. And you've got
Actually,
looks like
we can probably bunker for safety underneath the PS5. So it's large enough.
fair. And that actually does raise a question I wanted to ask. Ben and Jeff, do you guys have your situation figured out where it's going to fit in your home? Like, let's go to Benjamin first. What are you going to do?
Well, I was gonna actually, because I was also lucky enough, I do have a Series X as well, and they're definitely not gonna fit into
Braggart.
the entertainment unit I have behind me. So I was gonna do one on either side of the television standing up,
Hmm.
but I have a small child, so that can only end badly for everybody.
Jeffrey, have you figured out your situation?
So am I allowed to, I have it just right here. Am I allowed to get up during this show?
Nope.
I'm gonna
No.
Sit down.
Sit.
There are
slowly,
Or
no
you will be
rules.
caught.
I'm trying to film some TikToks with this. I'm
Mhm.
actually doing a tutorial on how to fit this monstrosity inside an IKEA record shelf, which I actually have behind me here. I don't know if that you guys can see that. But it is a little too big to fit horizontal and vertical in a vinyl shelf, which is more than fair. And
Mhm.
so what I think I'm going to do is get one of those $7 IKEA side tables next to the shelf and put it on the ground, which I think will line up with the height of the IKEA shelf. And yeah, I think I might have to move apartments.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell on it too
Yeah.
long, but it is a thing, right? I mean, they're both kind of chunky boys, and all the pictures I've seen on Twitter, I don't think I've seen anyone with a very elegant, perfect placement that seems to make aesthetic sense. So it's
With
a thing.
PS3 it was get a second job. With PS5 it's get a second apartment.
Just to store your excess console. So obviously, not everyone's been able to get their PS5 yet. I don't have my Series X either. I got a pre-order through a friend who got two pre-orders, so it's shipped to him. Now it's being shipped to me. So I have a big question for all you savvy IGN folks who have been here longer than me and seem to have it figured out. How did everyone get everything on launch day? Did I miss a step? Because I pre-ordered through Target. I feel lucky to have just gotten a pre-order through. I never saw an option to like get that stuff on launch day. What did I miss? Like, what was your strategy here? Do you know something I don't? Do you have access I don't, you
Well,
bastards?
I mean, I guess working on the social team, we're very lucky that we are always kind of looking at what is kind of trending. So when they became available, seemed very instant. We all just kind of shuffled. I think I got very lucky, because I was able to pick mine up in person in store, so that was good. But I also tried to get a second one, And thank goodness, no. Honestly, I got my backup. That's what I got. This was my backup one.
Sure. Jeffrey.
I'm still holding it. I don't know I'm in it for the long haul now. I still remember that pre-order day very, very well. Where I spent
Yeah.
6 hours on Best Buy trying to refresh specifically for in-store pickup because I didn't want to have it shipped. And I picked up a lot of stuff at Best Buy during the pandemic. They do like when I picked it up this morning, there was like socially distanced lines. It was one person at a time in the store. It was very nice. But it was very hard. I almost risked not getting a PS5 just so that I could pick it up in store because it wouldn't let me. So the checkout process to just ship it to you, I had one extra step in the cart to choose my store location, and I risked it all for it. And honestly, it was worth it just to have it for one more hour before you, Swaim.
Yeah, I should mention IGN Deals team does a great job of keeping that up to date. It's still very competitive, and that sort of brings us neatly to our headline story. Unless Ryan, you're inhaling with
Well,
intent.
one, I was
thought
going to
saw.
say, people,
Yeah.
if you're out there and you're still trying to get a PS5 or a Series X, please, like I know this sounds like shameless promotion, but hey, IGN employs me, but both that and for genuine help, follow IGN Deals on Twitter because they are like right on top of everything. That's
Yes.
how a number of us got our pre-orders in. Yeah, for me, it was luck and persistence. Walmart was the one that came through for me on the PS5. But it still took like I would get it into the cart and then click submit order, and it would just do nothing. Like, and then I would just have to. It probably took literally 15 minutes of just constant clicking before it did finally go through. So yeah, it's just a weird. I mean, it's just a bizarre way that we're doing this. It seems like Apple with iPhones and iPads has figured this out much better than the console makers have. But then again, Apple controls the whole supply, like the whole distribution chain, whereas consoles, there's all these third-party retailers involved. But I hope we can figure out a better system next time.
Definitely, I think the vast majority of gamers agree with you. Of course, there's the pandemic to factor in, but you wonder how much of a factor it is if that's the whole problem. It seems like there's more issues. I want to bring up a comment from IGN.com. Smokey I123 said, "It's really not rocket science at this point to get one regular price. Set up accounts with all your cards and shipping info on Best Buy, Walmart, Target, GameStop, etc. Then follow a Twitter account like Wario64 or IGN Deals that immediately posts availability. Then make sure push notifications are on for the account on your phone, and you should be able to order one easy enough. That's what I did to get mine." And I just think that's
Easy.
indicative of an issue because this person's coming at it and saying, "What's the big deal? All I did is this and that and that and that." Should that really be necessary to just get the box, to like get the console? It seems like overkill. It seems like there should be an easier way to facilitate this without running foul of bots. Because I should say, our headline story, scalpers, of course, and bots, were employing bots, got in early, and people are already reselling PS5s on eBay and asking as much as the highest one we saw at the time of the publishing of the article was $1,749. And I feel like you're only bidding on that if you're so rich that that's nothing to you, because otherwise you're mind-bogglingly being ripped off. Or maybe you're just that hype. But yeah, Ryan, do you think there's hope? Do you see, or do you think we're in for a debacle every time that this wheel goes round and we have a console launch?
It's very much in Sony and Microsoft's best interest to. I mean, the production lines aren't stopping. I mean, they're going to keep cranking these out. It's just a matter of how often are we going to get weekly drops, bi-weekly drops, semi-weekly drops. But they're going to keep coming. I mean, this is the time of year. There's a reason that consoles outside of the Switch basically always launch in the fall, because that's the big shopping season and the manufacturing has been ramping up to get to this point. So I'm very confident that there are going to be plenty more available. I mean, whether it's still enough to meet demand is another question, but yeah, I wouldn't fret too much, and I certainly wouldn't spend $1,700. I mean, again, like you said, if somebody can do that, then it's just clearly they've got more money than they know what to do with, and that's fine. Then sure, just spend the money and make it easy for yourself. But yeah, for the rest of us, keep trying, and just like the advice that IGN viewer gave. Have all your
It's
accounts
solid
ready to go.
advice.
Follow the right accounts, and
Yeah.
just check regularly, and you'll be good to go.
It just seems so much more complicated than when I would just put Sega Genesis on my Christmas list and it showed up under the tree.
Well,
Why
Santa
can't we
works
do that?
differently than the modern
Unfortunately.
modern console era, but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Santa Claus subscribes to IGN deals on email and Twitter. Is last I checked.
That's how he gets around the world in one night, right?
Oh, yeah.
Jeffrey Vega, you're lovingly cradling your PS5, so I ask you, have you ever been so hyped for any console, this generation included, that you would spend, let's say, Crunk Girl in chat says they saw one for $19.99, $2,000 basically.
Oof. Yeah, I don't know. So this, I will say, this is my first ever launch console. And you guys are catching me on just a day that is so special to me and so many other people, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys and
You're
everyone
emanating
here.
with glee.
I'm
It's lovely
smiling
to
so
see.
big, it's embarrassing. I don't think I would ever pay more than the retail price, just because I know how hard Sony works to get these consoles out, and like everyone wants the games. And it's so great that like Spider-Man Miles Morales is available on PS4 today. Bugsnax is available on PS4 today. Like, you don't have to have it day one if you can wait until Black Friday, or you can wait till Christmas. Like, obviously it would be so fun to have it the day one, but it's the same thing with any time you are an early adopter. You kind of pay the price of bugs, and there's going to be a special edition down the line or different colors. And so it's kind of like it's like pros and cons to both sides. But I very happily paid the $500 to kind of, and especially this is my first time where this is my job. Like, I've never worked at IGN during a console launch. And so this is just kind of this fun thing where it's like, okay, I did buy this with my own money, but like now I have this device and it makes my job a lot easier when I do TikToks or Instagram Reels. And that's such a fun thing where it's like, oh, I can play Spider-Man, and I'm rambling at this point, so you got to cut me off.
Benjamin,
Yeah.
I think a factor that definitely comes into play are the launch lineups, both of which to some degree got compromised by pandemic and associated factors. Is there, like, I'm saying hypothetically, launch lineups intact and you couldn't have gotten a pre-order, is there anything that would make you nudge up above the standard retail price? Or are you holding firm at that price?
Yeah, so I definitely have my my own kind of idea of how I would do it. I wouldn't pay any more than over $50 for retail price, and that's only because I understand that if I was to get it from somebody else, well, there's a handling fee, but no more than $50
But
because
there is a
on,
margin in your head where you would
there
do it.
is a small margin, and that's only because I think $50, that is perfectly reasonable on a handling
Legwork,
fee.
finder's
On
fee.
a
Yeah.
on a finder's fee,
10%.
sure, and I don't think over the retail price that is so bad. However, this, I think these bots and the scalpers, the system is getting really, really sophisticated, and it's getting harder and harder. A friend of mine who's in the kind of like sneaker collecting, I just tried to get a pair of shoes that I like the look of, and he's like, you have no chance. You have to be so far ahead. You have to have all the systems set up that it's like playing the lottery if you want something like that. And I think we're going to see that more and more for these like really exclusive things if people keep buying what's out there. So I can't tell anyone what to do with their money, but I think supporting scalpers in any shape or form is just gonna come back to bite us all.
That's the other thing. I mean, it's on one hand, it's a testament to the hype that both companies, I think, were able to, like, the level of genuine excitement out there and demand for the product. But as long as we do it, it will continue to happen.
I
It's
mean,
unfortunate we vote with our dollars. Yeah,
the
Ryan.
difference though with like the sneaker culture, which I am
I've
not
heard that.
well
Yeah, about
versed
sneaker
on at
culture.
all, but that, like, the exclusivity is part of that. Like, it's built into that, to the best of my knowledge. Whereas with these consoles, the companies want to sell as many as they can. The sneakers, they just have a set amount they're going to do, and it's like a limited run. So it's so very temporary. Whereas it's built, it's like baked into the sneaker culture thing, and that's sort of part of the appeal and part of the fun with this. It's the exclusivity thing is very temporary. There are going to be many, many millions, tens of millions more of these consoles manufactured.
They will continue to make them until everyone is satisfied, and then there will be extra. It will just take however long it takes. Yeah, I want to know. I'm not going to put anyone on the panel on the spot because I think I know the answer, but like, I just wonder, is there any, I don't know, libertarian leaning person in chat? Is there any argument for this helps gaming or drives interest or the competition's good? I think pretty much everyone is but it's like traffic. Like everyone wishes it wasn't there. It still is. I don't
Well, at
know
the
if
same
anyone
point, I
pro
mean,
scalper.
if there's somebody, if they're going for $2,000, if a PS5 is going for $2,000 and that's all over eBay, then and that gets
Yeah.
I mean, that is a free market thing, and it gets, if that turns into like a story that news outlets start picking up on, as Sony's new console, fetching $2,000 on auction sites.
The news
Then
beat. That's true.
yeah, that's just good buzz for Sony and good buzz for the industry. And there's it's all there. Nobody's forcing anybody else to pay to pay $1,700 or $2,000 for it. So it's just it's that silly thing where it's true. Something is worth whatever someone else is willing to pay for it.
True that. So let's move on to it just whizzed by, but let's not forget Series X and S launch day. Another round of applause. We weren't on for that, so I want to give it its due. The PS5 is fading into the background in Jeffrey Vega's square. I appreciate that. If you're going to bring the Series X out, now's the time. Okay, no, a Raptor forward. But Benjamin, have you turned on the Series X yet or played around with it at all?
I have not turned on either of them, but I have opened up the back of this to reveal the Easter egg inside. So I guess I voids my warranty, so that's fine.
For the good of the team. We took one for the team.
I guess I won't ask what it is because some people in some universes could consider that like a consumer product spoiler.
No.
You'll find out.
A
No?
spoiler?
I want to know what it is.
Tell me what's inside my console.
Oh yeah,
I'm not
everybody
gonna ask.
in the chat.
Yeah, you're right.
Everybody in the chat is freaking out. They're like, "Whoa, I was
I'm
gonna
sure we'll
open my
spoil it,
Xbox tomorrow."
When I was done vaping through it, I was gonna open it up. But yeah, Phil Spencer writing on Twitter said that specifically over a 24-hour period, there were more new consoles sold in more countries than ever before. They haven't given us any specific figures, but we know that the Xbox One was previously the most successful Xbox launch, with this topping that. So getting bigger and better all the time. Of course, I'm going to go to Ryan McCaffrey first, our resident Xbox expert, spelled XPERT, I assume. Yeah, how are you feeling? And have you enjoyed the Series X so far? I know you've spoken to that at many levels, but another week passed, so something new must have come up.
Sure.
Some feelings must have blossomed in you.
NBA 2K21 might be, because there is a next gen specific version, not Xbox Series X optimized for. It is a different game with some different stuff in it. It looks stunning, so that's definitely one to check out if you really want to just showcase the system. But I do want to comment on Phil's thing about how big their launch was. And it's like, obviously I'm an Xbox fan. I host IGN's Xbox podcast, but I do need to call a little BS on him for that, just because they didn't give any numbers. And the reason is because Microsoft, as they've been, trailing Sony by a lot the last 7 years, they stopped giving any numbers years ago because obviously those numbers weren't favorable to them relative to their competitor. They started saying things like, "Oh, it's our biggest launch ever by like number of hours engaged," so they'd find other ways to spin it, which every company does. I'm not saying this is an Xbox or Microsoft specific thing, but
Netflix
yeah,
comes to mind.
I would like some numbers from Phil. Like, I'm glad to hear that they seem to be happy with it, but let's be honest, they were going to put out some sort of this launch was awesome statement, regardless of whether they sold 5 consoles or 5 million consoles. So it's just, I unfortunately, I think with them, at least for me, I'm not really, I mean, I hope they did well. It is a great console. I gave it a great review, an 8 out of 10 for IGN as a piece of hardware. But yeah, like it's just an empty statement, I guess, is the short version of what I'm trying to say. And that's, you know, I'm not trying to insult Phil or anything, but given their track record of not giving numbers for the last like 5 to 7 years, there's just no way to parse his statement.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see more and more of that. As I said, Netflix comes to mind. A lot of companies are feeling less and less of a need to make their numbers very public, although we can infer things. The Xbox One, we know, sold over 1 million units on launch day, so this presumably is bigger than that.
Well, it wasn't, the Xbox One wasn't a global launch. So right then and there, they launch in more countries. They're going to move more units. So already right there, it's like, okay, so it's not really apples to apples. So again, hope it sold great, but what they said doesn't really say anything.
All right, Sourpuss Benjamin. How are you? What are you going to play?
It's my job. I have to be a journalist about these things.
I appreciate it very much. Just ribbing you. But Ben, what are you excited to dive into when you do fire that bad boy up and not just feel it up for Easter eggs?
Oh man, don't ask me that question. Because honestly, I don't know, and that's not necessarily a positive thing. I'm still. I mean, again, lucky I had both. Yes. I've got one track mind right now. I'm looking for Spider-Man, and that's just. Oh, Jeffrey, you wore the same thing. Jerk.
I feel awkward now. I wore a New Jersey t-shirt.
Quick, everybody go get a spider thing. No, so I mean, I've still got my mind on that. And now I'm just trying to think, Ryan, what's available on the Xbox at launch? Because
I mean, well, no, we've talked a lot about this. There are 0 notable exclusives. The way that you've got Spider-Man, you've got Demon Souls. And yes, recognizing that Spider-Man's a cross-gen game, but I think the best things to play on day one, you know, when you do decide to fire that up, you know, again, I mentioned NBA 2K21 as an excellent game that really looks next gen. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, 4K 60 on the Series X, fantastic there. It got an 8 out of 10 from Brandon Tyrell on IGN.com. And then from there, you know, if you didn't play Gears 5, it's been all tuned up for the Series X. It looks great, plays great. Gears Tactics is on Game Pass. That's a turn-based Gears of War strategy game that I'd already played on PC, but this is its first console release. So that's a very good game. We gave that an 8 as well. I would probably have given it a 7 myself, but yeah, really good game. And then probably, even if you don't like racing games, if you just like cars and never played Forza Horizon 4, that is, in my opinion, I've said this before, but worth saying again, I think it is the best driving game of at least the last 5 years, if not the last 10. I mean, Forza Horizon 4 is a game about cars that just radiates joy when you play it. It's just like, it's like if you took a 72-degree summer day and distilled it into a video game. That's Forza Horizon 4. So, you know, yes, that's old stuff. You may have played it already, but if you haven't, there's that and a million other things on Game Pass. So no big killer Spider-Man or Demon Souls like exclusive, but there is plenty of good stuff to play on.
Yeah, I think it'll be Gears 5 and Forza now. I did play Forza 3, so I think Forza Horizon 4, I should say Horizon. I think I'll jump into those. But I think, you know, the fact that, you know, even if Xbox is, you know, whatever the credibility of this being their largest launch, which since it's in more countries, that technically is true no matter what. I think it's just exciting to see that clearly games and get just the demand of consoles and how so hard to get. It's just so huge now and just getting bigger and bigger. And I think that is the thing that's really positive for the industry. And I look forward to the day when the pandemic is over and we can all go outside and play our video games in the park.
And you're so right too. And I do want to add, because I was a little negative on Microsoft's statement there, but what an accomplishment for Microsoft to pull off a global launch in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. I mean, that's incredible. Even, and I'm not making it a Sony versus Microsoft thing, but even Sony staggered it by like a week. So Microsoft pulled off a global launch of a next generation console in the middle of a pandemic. So, I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment, just regardless of whether or not there's a big killer exclusive new game or not.
Yeah.
That's just an incredible feat on their part.
Well, when it comes to media, I mean, TV, film, and gaming, 2020 is definitely the year of like delayed gratification. And when we need media more than ever, it feels like. So I think that is an important point. As I've gotten older, I guess I've developed something like patience because the scalping doesn't even make sense to me because of like what you guys are talking about. The launch lineups, even on the Sony side, I understand there's a couple things that are neat to check out, but I don't feel this desperate need to be there. But you combine the pandemic with just the classic early adopter culture that gaming has had forever. And you get these levels of hype and these price spikes. But I think we all would encourage people to just like breathe deep, wait, there will be restocks. People in the chat are saying Walmart has restocked, but we can't verify that. Follow IGN Deals at Twitter. Jeffrey Vega, I haven't heard your beautiful pipes in a minute. Do you have any thoughts on this subject before we move on?
Yeah. I just I'm so I got a PS4 pretty late, so I missed a lot of the greatest hits. So, and this is gonna sound like a plug, but it's not. We're IGN. I am so excited for the PlayStation Plus collection, which is going to be included with PlayStation Plus memberships with people who have PS5s. So I'm gonna play Horizon Zero Dawn for the first time. I'm gonna play God of War for the first time. I want to replay The Last of Us remastered. We played The Last of Us Part 2 this year, but I would love to play that again on faster loading times. Not that it was, a slow game, but and obviously Miles Morales. Another thing I'm really excited about to play on PS5 is that when I got Spider-Man back in 2018, I never purchased the DLC, The City That Never Sleeps. There's like 3 full DLC packs, and that just comes with the Spider-Man remastered inside the Miles Morales Ultimate Launch Edition. And that is great. Because I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to play it again. And Insomniac Games tweeted recently that we're going to be able to bring our saves over from PS4. Originally, they said that was not going to happen, but now it is going to happen. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find all the rest of the backpacks. I'm going to do all of the challenge tokens that are so hard because I'm very bad at stealth. Yeah, I'm also, I'm going to get hate for this, but I'm really excited to play Fortnite. Fortnite has a day one update for next gen for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. Everything is like super smooth, like 4K, it has 60 frames, all that good stuff. And I'm just like, wow, this is like what a fun thing where like you have, just like with Xbox Game Pass, you just have like all these great games that I can just jump in, even if there's no like killer game or whatever. And I feel like I'm so excited and Bug Snacks too. God, sorry, I could go on forever. Bug Snacks, it's a free PlayStation Plus game, which I was gonna buy it, Sony. So if you're watching this, and I know that you are, Sony, I make a physical version, please.
Yeah, Vanilla BS said that's awesome. Congrats to them, meaning Microsoft. I'm not sure when I'll actually buy it. Should I do it when Halo releases, get a new TV? And I'm exactly there. A couple you mentioned the 4K. 4K is becoming like a standard. 4K 60 FPS are new bars, new standards we want to reach. I have a prehistoric TV, by which I mean a very nice large flat screen, but it doesn't do 4K. Are y'all on 4K? Am I the only one?
I've been financially planning this for like seriously 2 years. I did the TV last Black Friday because I knew that I would have $1,000+ to spend this holiday with the 2 consoles. So I had tried to plan it out and save. And so I was lucky enough to be able to I did a new TV last year so that I could space out the financial damage.
And is it a game changer? Like, should I get
if you don't already have 4K? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's
Okay,
you
good to
can
know.
you can use you can play anything on the Series X or PS5 in less than 4K, but they are designed to be 4K consoles.
All right, hold on. I gotta go order more shit. Pardon my French.
Also, speaking of 4K, like people who have the disc edition, I love collecting. I feel like we've talked a lot about physical
Mhm.
products on the show, but I love collecting Steelbook Blu-rays, and they usually come with the 4K Blu-ray that usually is packaged in a black box. And I've never been able to play those. I just grab that digital code, and I love the Steelbook. But now I can finally play those 4K black disc Blu-rays on my brand new PlayStation 5 regular disc edition. And so you should definitely get that 4K TV, Swaim. If you need me to
All right.
Venmo you, I will.
Benjamin, do you want to mock me for not having a 4K TV, or shall we move on?
Yeah, I'd love to mock you, but it doesn't have to be about the TV. It could be about anything, whatever you want.
Moving
No,
on.
get a television that has 4K.
All right, I will. Immediately after this, I vow it.
But you
I'm
gotta make
getting a
sure it's an
4K television.
HDMI 2.1 4K TV so that you can get the 4K 120 frames per second, which not all 4K TVs can do.
I love you guys. You make me want to be a better man. But moving on. Among all the next gen quality of life improvements, faster load times, which I know everyone I've done, at least in my social media spheres, has been just appreciating the hell out of the faster load times. I've been involved in a couple pieces now about the DualSense and the haptic feedback. Of course, Astro's Playroom, which comes packaged with the PS5, really shows off all the ways that haptic feedback is within the DualSense, and how there are different ways they could use it. But I think this is very promising on that front. It turns out every gun in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War has a different trigger setting. Now, I, unlike all of you, haven't gotten my hand. I've never touched a DualSense or experienced the haptic feedback, but I got to say, it's like Dark Horse become the thing I'm most excited about. And I'm hoping that it's not a gimmick and that it's a real new facet of immersion. And just seeing a big franchise like Call of Duty hop on board and use it in such a granular, detailed way. Because when you play Astro's Playroom, I could see that being, well, of course it uses every part of the animal. Sony put it out, but I really just hope we see more IPs jump on board and use it. And am I the only one excited about haptic feedback, Benjamin Watts? How do you
No,
feel
I'm
about
very
the
excited. No,
Yeah.
I'm incredible, but I mean, like, I'm excited. I get excited about like VR, anything that brings us closer to whatever the game experience is. That definitely is just so much more. That is next gen. That is where we're going with whatever next gen is. That'll be it. Like whatever brings me closer to the game. I think it's really interesting that Call of Duty with the haptic feedback and the haptic triggers, because I mean, great for the campaign. No serious multiplayer will have that switched on, right? Like, there's no one going around getting all their like fingers tied. What is that going to do to your hands on that controller? You're just going to be like shaking all the time, frozen in that position. So very cool for single player. I doubt will have longevity in the multiplayer, but I think consoles just coming out launch day, and it's great that there's games out there that plays with all the little bells and whistles that we have at our disposal.
assume it will always be turn offable. I don't know why we would ever make it mandatory, especially for people who want their controller to last a bit longer in the battery department. But yeah, we always, with the launch of a new generation, also see swings that kind of miss, right? Like, I think third-party developers made interesting use in some limited cases of things like motion controls and the touchpad, but not necessarily in a way where that's now part of the lexicon of gaming. I can't imagine gaming without and I'm wondering if haptic feedback in the controller could get to a point where it rises to that kind of level where you take it for granted as a feature of gaming. Ryan, what are your thoughts on the DualSense?
Echoing yours, really, it's because you just started to get into it. I want this to be a ubiquitous thing, because this controller is full of neat stuff. Like the Xbox, I don't have it handy, but the Xbox One and now the Series X controller, they've got the rumble and the triggers, but even last gen with that, almost nobody used it. Forza, either both Motorsport and Horizon, were probably the best examples for the triggers would be gas and brake, and you could kind of like you could feel like if you were hitting the gas, you could like feel it kind of blip when the car would shift gears, and when you grab the brake, you could feel like the kind of the caliper like grabbing onto the wheel and making kind of a dragging bringing the car to a stop. So Forza did a great job with it, but really nothing else for the most part did. And the history of this, history suggests that the DualSense's toys are going to get left in the dust real fast, because there was the 6-axis, which went away pretty quickly. There was you mentioned the touchpad, which for most of the generation, the PS4 generation, turned into just a giant button on the top of the controller, on the front of the controller. And then HD Rumble on the Switch was so, you had 1-2 switch and then basically nothing, to the point that the Switch Lite can't even detach the controllers to do that stuff. So I hope that this bucks that trend and becomes a normal thing, because this controller does seem like it's doing a lot of neat stuff, but history is unfortunately not on its side. So fingers crossed. It is good to see stuff like major third-party stuff like Call of Duty embracing it, because that bodes well if it's going beyond the first-party confines of stuff like Astro's Playroom. So we'll see.
Yeah. Although it's a mind-boggling to me, as someone who cannot program or design a video game in any capacity, to imagine the level of additional sound design and programming complexity this now adds to every game. I saw on the Up at Noon stream the other day, I believe Max doing some Astro's Playroom and talking about how the footprints, the step was coming from different sides of the controller, while you can feel the footprint in each side. Someone has to intentionally place all those things. It just boggles my mind. But if they're willing to do it, I do think it really adds something. Jeffrey Vega, where's your money? You think the haptic feedback in the DualSense is a gaming revolution, or just a gimmick that will flare out quickly?
I think it is, to what Ben was saying, a great indicator of next gen, because I was replaying Spider-Man, and just some of the moments that the game makes you kind of like, oh, move the control stick there and hit it right, and it would kind of intentionally make it slow, and it feel like the game wants me to feel like it's there. So to have that actually physically is such a fun it's such a fun thing. But to what Ryan was saying about gimmicky, when we were talking about, because I remember when the Nintendo Switch was announced and they were talking about HD Rumble, and it was like you could feel ice cubes in a glass of water, and it's like, I mean, it's so cool, and I love the Nintendo Switch, and I love the Rumble is so fun. But I think back of the 3DS and how the 3D was not fun, and especially in the older versions when you had to stay completely still, and then they're just like, oh, actually we'll make it 2DS and that is better. But yeah, it is such a fun thing where like that is kind of what pushed me to like really try to get a day one order, was like, okay, I could, when I heard the news that Spider-Man Miles Morales was also coming to PS4, I was like, do I need a PS5 day one? And then I was talking to Ben, and Ben was like, but you want to feel the thwip of Miles flying. You want to feel that in the triggers. You want to feel that. And I'm like, you're right. I should play the way Insomniac intends to.
That's true. It's doing honor to their, I mean, that they would prefer you to play it that way. So if you can snag it and afford it, have that experience. Absolutely. The way it was intended. Speaking of the way things were intended, James Gunn has announced that the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 script is complete, which was probably not that difficult, because he also said that very little had changed with the script from the original version he penned before being temporarily fired / semi-canceled because of, admittedly in poor taste, Twitter jokes. And then people were like, these are just jokes, though. It's a long time ago. Is he really canceled? And they were like, you're right. It's fine. And he was back on board. And I think fans of Guardian of the Galaxy, by and large, are very pleased. And, that there will be some continuity and some artistic vision, that it's sort of in good hands. Yeah, although Gunn is back on board for the third volume, he's previously indicated that his next movie will probably be the final one with him in the director's chair, and probably be the last one with the current team. So this is the last hurrah for Groot and so on. Rocky Raccoon, I forget off the top of my head. Star-Lord, that's one. But yeah, let's see, Benjamin, you looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
Yeah, of course. Volume 1 and Volume 2, fantastic movies. And I think the way Endgame finished off with the Guardians heading off it. Well, did we see them head off? But they took Thor with them. So, ooh, what's going to happen there? I think it's really exciting when obviously the news of James Gunn leaving and then coming back. I think it's the movies are so James Gunn's vision in so many ways. So to take that, I think for fans, it's really reassuring that it will feel within that continuity, as you were saying. And I mean, it's exciting that we will get another one, but it was kind of always obvious. The problem is we just didn't get any this year. We've had no Marvel films or properties whatsoever this year, which I think has been their first time since they came out. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, well, that would
But
have been that would have not been true except for WandaVision now getting announced as it was previously said to be December. Now it's going to stream January 2021, which we reported makes it the first year without an MCU related release since 2009. Although in the comments we got a little flack, people arguing that Agents of Shield's final season counts, and other people arguing that it doesn't technically because of contractual things and what company owns what. But yeah, Jeffrey, I know you were very impacted by this. On Slack, you were like, it's rough, right? To have no MCU for an entire year. How did you survive, man?
Yeah, remember movies?
Barely.
Yeah, it's yeah, I was bummed to see WandaVision get delayed, but honestly, hey, take all the time. We're not going anywhere. I will wait for a great show. But yeah, ki- it- it's been a weird year for many reasons, but hearing that James Gunn finished Guardians of the Galaxy 3 Volume 3 is very uplifting and exciting. I'm trying to like have a physical item to show for each segment of the show.
Story.
This is
Good.
my my Disneyland exclusive Rocket Raccoon from the ride. I don't know. These aren't plugs. I'm specifically excited because Rocket Raccoon is my favorite character from the movies, and James Gunn has been on the record saying that the third and final film will revolve fully around him and revolve around his relationships with like other people. Just if I don't want to spoil the second movie, but it's very rocket heavy in a great way. Great movies, and it's just so crazy. James Gunn just finishing the Suicide Squad. Now he's going to do the HBO show with John Cena for the Peacemaker, and it's just like, man, you guys, thank you for making entertainment and doing it safely, because I know they're all in Atlanta shooting that stuff now. Spider-Man is happening right now.
Both Guardians and WandaVision seem like that side of Marvel that's more of the quirky, uplifting, truly just like fun stuff. And I think that's the perfect vibe for this time we're in. I'm feeling less Avengers Endgame grim, everyone getting snapped away, and more like, let's see, the Scarlet Witch and Vision be in a black and white sitcom. Sure, that's kooky. Ryan, you looking forward to the MCU slate? Have you missed it? Is it a big part of your pop culture
I'm looking
life?
forward to the PS5 that's, I think, on my porch right now. So skip me and I'll be right back.
Yeah, he was
Whoa.
looking, he was looking back and to the left
on.
for quite some time, and I
Bring
thought
the
that might
delivery
be
guy
what's
in.
happening.
Let's get the inside scoop on all the deliveries this today.
And while we
We're gonna
wait,
have
I will
a
do a
live
quick unboxing of my Rocket Raccoon.
unboxing.
No,
Will
put it
you?
away.
Will you ruin it for the stream? That's
He
all the
wouldn't
collector
do it.
value gone.
You wouldn't do it.
Are we? Oh my gosh! Just knowing that it's there behind Ryan is, he probably can't hear us.
Mhm.
I'm back. I'm here.
He's
I'm
back.
part of the show again. I have had.
Let's
I was a
open that
little
sucker
paranoid
up.
because I've
Can we be
had
happy for you?
I've had porch pirate incidents in the past, and so who knows if they're even on the extra prowl today, knowing that these are out. So it's like, I
Sure.
gotta it's here. I gotta check it. I gotta check my door, but it's fine. It's all good. It's here.
There were not 0 PS5s stolen today. You know what I mean? There's definitely some.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what were we talking about? That's right. WandaVision,
WandaVision.
the MCU
Yeah, I'm
generally.
sort of curious what I admit, like I didn't watch Shield. I'm sort of curious what
Yeah.
what a sort of top high budget Marvel TV show is going to look like. I'm curious to see it.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued by their whole slate. It's sort of like when Marvel went over to Disney, sort of like literally. Netflix liquidated all their Marvel related properties. Now we're going to get a whole new crop. It's sort of disorienting and disrupting, but I'm excited for the new crop. Following WandaVision, we will also see The Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, which is like an anthology where they mess with what if, I don't know, what is Spider-Man, but upside down? Hawkeye, Miss Marvel. I guess that's what he is anyway.
Yeah,
Hawkeye,
he is upside down.
Miss Marvel, Moon Knight. I'm really excited about that one, and She-Hulk. So that's a cool slate. I'm very intrigued, especially with them saying that WandaVision's like 6 Marvel movies packed into one. Widely rumored that it may mirror the House of M storyline with alternate realities, and it just seems like a bunch of kooky fun, especially with Guardians 3, and it's been a long time. I miss the MCU. I truly do. Any good comments? No.
I-
Mostly terrible comments.
I'm excited to have the 6 episodes of WandaVision because it's like we've never been able to discuss Marvel movies as a community where we're like Marvel episodes, right? And so it's like we see the first episode of WandaVision and we're like, oh my God, this is bonkers. Like what's going to happen? And the fact that they will set up and like WandaVision is specifically leading up to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Like the fact that Marvel is like really like hoping that people like watch everything across all those mediums. It's like, okay, this better be worth the kind of like whatever multiverse or what have you that they're setting up. And that I'm excited for. But I really am just excited for the weekly kind of like excitement that we get like with The Mandalorian compared to the Star Wars movies.
Right. Well, I forget who suggested this, but we're going to wrap up with a sad bit of news and look at the domestic box office for 2020, because I think it ties into what we're talking about, right? Really what we're all just hoping is that going to the movies will become a thing again. And we say this as I just saw on my phone, like California surpassed 1 million cases of COVID. So do what you can out there, stay safe. Not the least of which reason for is that we could someday go to movies again. I know people are, but not a lot of people, as evidenced by this list, which I'm not going to bore you with, but it's pretty grim. Who suggested this? Who said we had to talk
definitely
about-
me. It was
That's
definitely
right.
me who
Okay.
suggested it.
Benjamin.
Yeah, I mean,
What's
because
good about looking back at the grim wreckage of 2020 film industry?
Well, I think it's all good to take everything in the kind of time frame it existed. Like we look at 2019, you look at the top movies we had. Endgame, there was Star Wars, there was Frozen, Toy Story 4. And then you think about the movies that we've gotten this year, and because they're just not financially viable because nobody can go to the cinema. When you look at what the top movie of this year is domestically, I haven't looked at international, but domestically, Bad Boys for Life. And that will not change before the end of the year. And that is something that will be indicative of 2020. The number 1 movie will be Bad Boys for Life forever.
Boy, if you had
Not a
that, if
terrible
you bet on
movie.
that in Vegas, you're going to make a ton of money at the beginning
That's
of the
true.
year.
But yeah, it's interesting to note that, yeah, it really is a shocking discrepancy, more than I was giving it credit for, because you've just reminded me that in 2019, there were movies that grossed $1 billion. And Bad Boys for Life, top grossing domestic film, as Benjamin said, at $206 million. So roughly a fifth of
Still great.
the
Still great.
highest
Love to have
hype
that in my bank
movie.
account. It's still a respectable number, but it is no
No.
2019. And clearly, but then look, Sonic the Hedgehog coming in at a strong number 2. I was a big fan of that movie because Jim Carrey, and that's fine.
I'm trying to see of the lowest grossing movie that I've actually heard of, right? That's not just a random indie film. Centigrade?
I think
Sputnik?
we're missing out on the fact that
re-release of Mandy in theaters made $19,000. There you go. Mandy deserves more than $19,000. We clearly need to let Ryan go play his PlayStation 5. I can see the angst in his eyes. So I am gonna wrap it up. But Benjamin, I appreciate you tagging that on, because I think yeah, it's a weird year. We're still in it. but there's a lot to look forward to when the chaos subsides. And here's hoping you all make it through okay, and that you get those pre-orders in. Check out IGN Deals on Twitter, see what's restocked when. That's news, games, and more, you guys. Let's all go play our next gen console. Smoke them if you got them.